this video, I'm going to share with you the top 5 exercises from ATG to becoming a better defensive player on the court. Hey, it's Harry here from No Cap Physio, and I'm here to help you to become more pain-free and athletic as an athlete, especially for hoopers, through exercises that scale to your current ability. So if you've ever seen Kyrie Irving, Stephen Curry, or Allen Iverson, I'm sure you've seen most of their highlight tapes where they cross up people with fancy moves and combinations, especially for social media nowadays, where if you do get crossed up or get dunked on, it gets posted out and everywhere goes viral. I'm sure that's an end where you don't want to become a part of. And within this video, I'm going to share with you some strength foundations where you can strengthen your body to becoming a better defender. The reason you've clicked on this thumbnail today is that you want to take your defensive game to the next level. Whatever current level that you're currently playing at, whether it's high school, collegiate, or overseas, defense is what's going to separate great from good players. Within this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 exercises from ATG that has taken my defensive game to the next level as a smaller guard. And make sure you stick to the end of the video for some tips why I think smaller guards have their advantage and the mindset that you need to have in order to become the best defensive player on the court. So starting off with the first exercise, the VMO squats. Contrary to popular belief of the 90-degree squats or not squatting knees over toes to reduce the shearing forces and thus leading to healthier knees, it's actually been shown in studies at 90 degrees is where there's the largest shearing forces on the knee. And as you go deeper into the ranges of motion, you actually get less shearing forces and only more compressive force on the knee. And by really going through the full range of motion of the knee bend, pushing your knees forward, keeping your torso upright, this makes it a more knee-dominant movement instead of hip-dominant. Compared to a usual ass-to-grass back squat, with a VMO squat, what is different is that your knees and your hips are parallel to each other. Whereas in ass-to-grass back squats, your hips are usually lower than your knees level, which is where you're able to use your glutes a little bit more, making it less knee-dominant. Strengthening the quads at these deeper ranges of motion, stimulating the tendons and ligaments that's usually not trained within your sport. This is what will make your knees to be able to withstand more load and reduce the chances of injury, thus the concept of bulletproofing. Especially from basketball when there is so much quarter reps already, whether that is from layups, dunking, rebounding, defensive slides. Therefore, we should instead be training what the sport is missing out on and not giving to us to become a more well-rounded athlete. The second exercise that I've got is the reverse squats. Hip flexors is the muscle that is located near the front of your pelvis, which is near the top of the quads. And this muscle is usually largely undertrained, and this is what picks up your feet off the floor. Lateral drills is something that people recommend on becoming faster and becoming more agile. But from my opinion, if you are the master at lateral drills, you'll only be great at picking your feet off really small distances. And guess what you'll only be better at? Ladder drills. You're playing basketball. So what we need to do is train the muscles through a fuller range of motion, but also get them stronger, allowing you to really pick up those feet, going from point A to point B, which is a large coverage if you got beat. Not only is this a great exercise for your hip flexors, but also your lower abs, which is rarely trained in normal abs exercises. The third exercise we got is the curl extension. This is a hugely crucial exercise for taking contact and keeping your torso upright during it. When I mean torso upright, it doesn't mean your torso needs to be perpendicular to the floor. It just means that it needs to be straight and not bending too much or collapsing to the sides. This is what the best defenders do to absorb contact and really play upright in order to not have any energy leaks throughout the chain. You will lose positioning as he kind of bumps you out of the way. And when you try to get back into the play by regaining that position of the torso being upright, you will usually lead to maybe a reach and foul if he tries to go for the ball, or if he does take a shot, it will usually be 2 free throws. Having a back extension machine would be ideal to really hit those QL and obliques, but if this isn't an option for you, you can check out my other video called QL Extension Progression to really get you started on it. The fourth exercise we got is the seated good morning. This is hugely important for hitting that lower back muscle and that specific angle when you are leaning forward with the torso upright and really reaching for steals. As a defender, when we want to reach in and get those steals, we really want to be strong in those positioning. Not only does the seated good morning really target the lower back muscles to be strong in those positions when we try to reach for a steal, but it really helps you really open the adductor and groin mobility as well to really help with the defensive slides and leaning forward. And as you open up that groin and adductor mobility, you'll be able to play much lower on defense. And as the general saying goes, no man wins. And the final and fifth exercise that we got is the sled. Even if you master the 4 exercises above, one thing that might be playing in your mind is whether I can last 4 quarters of a game, which is conditioning. You can do all the running, the cycling to improve your cardiovascular and muscular endurance for your sport. But from my personal experience, those 2 things have kind of really broken me down instead of building me up as a basketball player. And instead, the solution that ATG and Ben Patrick has came up themselves is using the sled. The sled is a huge staple exercise for ATG, and Ben Patrick got this exercise from Charles Poliquin, who was a strength coach who has coached multiple Olympian gold medalists. If you do have access to a sled in the gym, whether it is for knee pain, pre-game warm-up, post-game cool-down, or for conditioning, this is the best exercise for conditioning in my opinion. Why I love it so much is because you can go really, really hard on it, or you can go at a lighter intensity as you want. If the sled doesn't move when you try to push or pull it, it doesn't move and it won't injure you. But for running, because it is such a high volume and a rhythm thing, you are usually using your elastic energy, and when you're putting so much high forces onto your knees, this is when it will actually break you down. By pushing the sled forward with some heavy weights, it really helps you get you super pumped for your workout, get you super warm for pre-games, and a great warm-up in general. While going in reverse, backward sledding with it, it helps you really remove some of the DOMs in your quads and bring lots of blood flow into those knees to really remove that pain. And lastly, for a post-game or practice cool-down, this is great for really removing those lactic acids in your muscles and remove DOMs so that you're able to still function the next day. If you go hard at this for 10 minutes, sledding forward, then backwards without stopping daily, I can almost guarantee you that within 3 months, you will not only be seeing less fat percentage in your body, which means there's less friction between your muscle cells, making your nervous system fire quicker and producing more athletic movements. But it can also improve the endurance and conditioning factor that you're looking for in games. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, after explaining my top 5 ATG exercises to becoming a better defensive player on the court, here are some bonus tips to really take your defensive game to the next level. Physicality sure does play a factor with the wingspan and height to cover grounds and having a larger defensive presence on the court. It's also a lot of read and react from the experiences that you've played against your opponents. And even though most NBA players are superbly skilled on the offensive end, where most basketball careers are made is actually starting on the defensive. Although as an undersized basketball player, I do think that it can be a disadvantage, but it shouldn't be overlooked, and in fact, we do have a few advantages over some of the taller players. One thing that comes to mind for relatively smaller hoopers is that we are shiftier, we are quicker, and we are peskier on defense. We have the ability to really annoy the hell out of the ball handler and make it a nightmare for them to bring the ball up and not allow them to set up their plays or offense. And while for taller hoopers such as power forward and centers, they really need to be much more careful around us as we explore any opportunities that we can to get a steal or swipe the ball from them. And even though the advantages might seem very little, what we need to do as undersized guards is that we need to capitalize on these opportunities and advantages that we have. This is then when coaches will actually allow you to play and be on the court without being a mismatch or a disadvantage at all times. And one more thing as a defensive player is that it's your mindset. You're going to get crossed, get your ankles broken, get dunked on, and even be on the floor the next minute you know. But the best defenders in the world, Drew Holiday, Marcus Smart, Avery Bradley, Davion Mitchell, they all have these moments handed to them before. And what makes them an elite defender is what they're going to do next after. Are you going to stay on the floor or out of the court when your teammates are hustling on defense to stop the opponents making a bucket? Or are you going to get back into the play, try to make a defensive play, or even make the right rotation so that your teammates don't need to scramble as much? It all starts with your mindset. Forget about what just happened and go after the next play. If you're able to continue to become relentless on defense, try to make the right defensive reads and try to get your team on a fast break, doing what is required for your team to win, coaches love that. They put you on the court and that's what's going to earn you minutes. If you found this video to be helpful, please give it a like, subscribe, and comment on what you want next. And there's also a link in the description below where you can download a free athlete nutrition guide to really help you to recover better as an athlete and making better gains on the court.